Well, hey you guys, welcome to the Able Gardener, and I'm just out in my front yard harvesting some rhubarb. And it seems like I've been gone for a while, and actually I have. I've had a summer cold. My voice got so raspy I could hardly talk. Well, now that I'm feeling better, it happens to be Saturday, which is one of the noisiest days in any neighborhood. So I've got tractors and farm equipment going up and down the road. I think there's a table saw going in this direction and a chainsaw that way, but let me get over that because it's nice and quiet right now. I've got a rhubarb plant here that's probably somewhere between 2 and 3 years old. And what I'm doing to harvest the rhubarb, I'll grab just one more stalk and I'll show you, but let me bring you over closer so you can see how I harvest my rhubarb. Here's a fairly nice sized stalk right down here, right where these new stalks are coming out of the ground. Now what they'll do is they'll grow from the middle of the rhubarb plant and then they'll just grow out. So this one is one of the outer ones, and what you do to harvest rhubarb is you just take a hold of the stalk, you give it a nice twist. If the plant starts moving at all, just put your hand on the plant, but this one isn't moving very much. You just twist it, and that's what you do to harvest your rhubarb stalk. Now, I wouldn't take like a kitchen knife and come out here and cut the rhubarb off, because that could just lead to rotting of, well, not only that stalk, but it could go down into the plant and your plant could die. The part that you eat of the rhubarb is just the stalk itself. You don't eat the leaf because the leaf is poisonous. So you just take your rhubarb stalk, you break the leaf off of it. It's okay if you take some of that stalk with you. Throw the leaf away, and you can put it in your compost pile, you can toss it in your garbage bin and take it out to the street. Whatever you do, just don't eat it. Now that's a lot of rhubarb. That's going to make a lot of strawberry rhubarb jam. Now this rhubarb is probably about 2 to 3 years old. When you get your little rhubarb roots and you plant them in the ground, that will be probably in springtime, and you just wait for them to start coming up and start sending up those little shoots in the middle. And you're not going to harvest your rhubarb for at least probably 2 to 3 years. That first to second year, it's just going to be growing. So let's go in the back. I'll show you my perennial garden I've been working on and show you where I'm putting my other rhubarb. Well, you guys, this is the northeast corner of my garden. It's usually had nothing but wood chips sitting back here, but I have been starting to plant a lot of perennials, and I want to make this more or less a perennial garden, or maybe a little bit more of like a forest, have a couple of trees back here. But I am putting my rhubarb back here, so I'll bring you through, show you some of the plants, and then we'll plant that rhubarb. Now as we go back, you'll probably recognize some of these plants if you've watched any of my earlier episodes. I've got my ginger plant, and I think I'm going to put that back here. If I can get enough water to it, I'll put it back here in my perennial garden. But I've got my hibiscus plant, my blueberry is down here. I've got a lot of geraniums, daylilies. I've got a hot lip sage, a butterfly bush that I started from a little cutting. So I'll be putting all those back here in my perennial garden. Well, let me take you guys to the back corner and I'll show you where I'm going to put that rhubarb. Well, you guys, I know that it's shady back here, and I hope that you can see this area, but it's shady because of this nice big pine tree here, and I do want to do my work in the shade before the sun gets over the top of that tree. So I had gone ahead and planted some rhubarb yesterday. So out of the 3, here's 1 and 2 back here, and I'm going to put the 3rd one right over there closer to you guys. Now when you plant in a wood chip garden, you don't want to just dig into the wood chips and mix that around with the soil. You want to go ahead and get a rake, pull your wood chips back where you want to plant something, and then you'll have a nice area that's open to the soil. Dig your hole, plant whatever you're going to plant, and then pull the wood chips back up. So I'm going to clean an area here to put my 3rd rhubarb. Well, you guys, I decided to turn you around, so now you're back up against my northern fence facing my perennial garden, and I've got my garden shed in the back. This is where I'm going to put my third rhubarb. Now, one thing about rhubarb is they do like a more mulchy soil, one that's well draining, and you need to plant them at least 3 to 4 feet apart because they are going to get to be big. If you've ever seen something like bear's breech, it's going to get about as big as that. Now, last year I had these wood chips brought in, and a truck from the tree trimming place just came in, dumped them off by the side of the road, and then I was able to bring them back here with the wheelbarrow, and I put them anywhere from 4 to 6 inches deep. And you can see now that they're not 4 inches deep anymore. They're anywhere from like 1 to 2 inches deep. And they've started working on the soil, making the soil underneath the wood chips more mulchy. Now, as I go down, my soil is still like clay. So the wood chips have only been here probably about, I would say, 9 months. So every year I'm going to continue to put wood chips back here until my soil is just nice, lush, mulchy, and I don't feel like I need wood chips anymore. But I did call for another load, and I didn't know when they were going to bring it, but they called me the other day and said that it would be any time. So that's one reason why I'm wanting to get my perennials back here as fast as I can. So when they drop the wood chips off, I can get them off the side of the road as fast as I can. So I'm just going to dig this hole down about a foot. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix some compost in the hole and mix that around with the clay soil that's still down there. There, that looks good. And I'll bring you guys in closer so you can see. And when I got my 3 rhubarb that were in a package with some sawdust, I just put them in a tote that had some holes in the bottom, and they started growing and they're doing nicely. So this is the size of a 1-year-old or almost 1-year-old rhubarb. Now you plant them right to the crown of the root. Let me dig him out of there. Well, I've gotten my compost mixed in with my soil, and I'm going to make a little well down in the ground and get my last of the 3 rhubarb out of this tote. So that's what I'm going to put around the plant, is some more of that soil. Now, as I had said out front, I'm not going to harvest anything off this plant. If you saw my stalks up front that I was harvesting, you can tell that these aren't anywhere near that size. I think I made my hole a little too deep there, so I'm going to bring that out a little bit so I can plant this rhubarb right at its crown, right where the roots meet the stalks. Just going to push it in a little bit, not really hard, but enough to hold the plant up. I'm going to bring it up just a little bit more. I guess I dug a deeper hole than I thought. Okay, I'm going to go turn down my water. I want to water this rhubarb really well, say all the way down to the bottom of the hole that I dug for it, but I don't want it running quite that fast, so I'm going to go turn it down. There we go. I have it going now at a nice little trickle. Then I'm going to pull the wood chips back around that rhubarb. But I'm not going to pull it, I don't want to have it right up against the rhubarb. Not that it's going to hurt it any, but I just want to cover the ground where it's been. Well, hopefully you guys can see. I'm sure you can see the one out in the sun over there. Those are my 3 rhubarb. There's one over there in the shade and another one over here that's getting the water that I just planted. So that's going to be a nice little area back in my perennial garden. Those are going to get anywhere from 3 to 4 feet in diameter. So they're going to make a nice little border back there. And I'm hoping to put a tree or a large shrub somewhere back in that corner behind the rhubarb. Well, you guys, besides putting plants in the perennial garden and trying to figure out where all those are going to go, all I've been doing is watering the garden, harvesting vegetables, doing some work on the garden shed, and that's about it. So thanks for coming by today, you guys. I really appreciate it. Happy gardening, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye, you guys.